let me ask you more specifically about DUI causing injury or death. And I know these are very difficult cases because there's a person who's injured that may be killed, and there's a lot of emotions. Often there's a lot of publicity. Let's say you have a client, he was intoxicated, and it's pretty clear he was intoxicated and caused an accident, or at least according to the police, caused an accident. Somebody was killed. How do you go about defending a case like that? Well, what are some of the things that you would do?
Well, unfortunately, in these cases, under the Nevada revised statutes, probation is not an option if the defendant were to be convicted on that charge. If the blood alcohol level, let's say, is close to 0.08, if it's a close call, sometimes a prosecutor might be willing to take a plea to a lesser charge, like a DUI, for example, as a misdemeanor. But if the defendant is convicted of DUI causing substantial injury or death, it's a non-probationable offense. But the sentencing range up to 20 years is huge. Mm-hmm. In Nevada, if you were sentenced to 20 years in prison, you would be eligible for release after 8. But obviously, because it's such a large sentencing range, your advocate, your attorney should be doing their best to negotiate or hopefully a stipulated sentence which would ensure that when the defendant appears before the judge at the time of sentencing, that they are not at risk of getting the 20 years, that perhaps the parties can negotiate or stipulate to a sentence that's far lower.
So ideally, you try to get as low of a sentence as possible, and maybe even a misdemeanor, keep them out of jail. But what about the fact that, do you find that these highway patrol and metro investigators just sort of jump to the conclusion that if someone was drinking, they must have caused the accident? Do you just sort of take their word at face value?
No, I think it's important to look at the accident reconstruction, and in most cases to hire your own accident reconstructionist so that you can independently evaluate whether or not your client actually caused the accident, because that is an element of the charge in Nevada. So you absolutely want to, look at that very closely, and if there are issues with regard to cause of the accident, those may also be good bargaining chips to try to negotiate a better resolution for your client. I'm attorney Michael Becker with the Las Vegas Defense Group. If you or a loved one has been charged with a criminal offense in Las Vegas or throughout the state of Nevada, trust in me and my legal team to get your case dismissed or otherwise negotiate a resolution that causes minimal harm to you in your future.